This story is called The Chronicles of the Forgotten Dawn, Chapter 3, found on the HFY subreddit by Ballers. The bunker trembled again, a faint rumble that reverberated through the cold metal walls. Dust trickled down from the reinforced ceiling, and a faint hum of life support systems wavered for an instant before stabilizing. The children sat frozen in their levitating pods, their glowing patterns flickering with nervous energy. Whispers of telepathic unease passed between them like ripples in a still pond, but no one dare speak aloud until the tremor subsided. Are the Earthlings still hunting us? Came a trembling voice from a small Leland child, with silvery tendrils that curled protectively around her face. Her question lingered in the air, the fear of her tone echoing unspoken thoughts in the minds of every child present. Alira closed her eyes for a moment, the weight of the answer heavy in her chest. Then she opened them, her luminous gaze swept across the room. Yes, she said, her voice steady but low. Even after all these millennia, they're still searching. Their fleets move from system to system, their scouts combing every corner of the galaxy. They're relentless, for they fear one thing above all: resistance. The children's small forms tensed at the word resistance. It was a concept they'd only heard in whispers, a forbidden hope that had no place in the cold reality of their existence. Outside the safety of the bunker, the world above was a barren wasteland. Once a verdant planet teeming with life, it had been reduced to ash and ruin, its skies choked with the residue of industrial terraforming. Humanity's machines had scoured the surface, stripping it of resources and reshaping it into a landscape of gray desolation. What little atmosphere remained was toxic, and the air above the bunker carried a faint metallic tang of Earthlings' terraforming engines that had long since moved on, leaving only death in their wake. From time to time, automated human drones patrolled the surface, scanning for signs of life. Their presence was a constant threat, their cold mechanical precision ensuring that no trace of alien existence went unnoticed. The survivors in the bunker had grown adept at remaining invisible, their systems shielded by layers of cloaking fields and energy dampeners. Yet every tremor, every distant sound of activity above was a grim reminder that humanity's gaze could fall on them at any moment. The surface is dead, Alira explained, her voice tinged with sorrow. Yet the machines continue to sweep it. Long after humanity has taken all it needed, they leave nothing to chance, for they believe in every spark of life as a threat to their dominion. A young Thrin with soft glowing wings trembled, her voice barely a whisper. Why don't they stop? They've already won. Alira's expression hardened, because they fear the truth, that no conquest is permanent. They know the seeds of resistance can take root in even the most barren soil, and so they scour the galaxy, not just for us, but for anything that might remind them of what they destroyed. The bunker was not unique. Across the galaxy, other hidden sanctuaries like this one sheltered the last remnants of a dozen alien races. Some, like the Thrin and the Lelands, had been nearly wiped out by humanity's wars of conquest. Their population was reduced to mere hundreds. Others, like the Days, had fragmented into scattered groups, their once proud culture a shadow of its former self. Life underground was harsh, and the survivors clung to it with the desperation of those who had no alternative. Resources were scarce, rationed carefully among the bunker's inhabitants. Every breath recycled air, every sip of purified water was a reminder of their precarious existence. The young rarely saw the outside world, and when they did, it was through a holographic projection or filtered images, ghostly snapshots of a galaxy that had once been vibrant and alive. Dozens of races live as we do, Alira said, gesturing us to a small hologram that materialized above her hand. The projection displayed a map of the galaxy, its glowing stars accompanied by faint markers indicating known bunkers. Some are larger than ours, with hundreds of survivors. Others are smaller, housing only a few families. We are scattered, divided by necessity, but we are not alone. The children stared at the map, their expression of mixed awe and sadness. A faint pulse ran through the bioluminescent patterns, a silent exchange of thoughts and emotions that Alira could sense even without hearing. What do they live for? Asked a cobalt-skinned child, her voice tinged with despair. What's the point of hiding if we can never go back? Alira knelt before the children, her shimmering form catching the faint light of the classroom's artificial glow. Her voice softened, carrying a warmth that contrasted with the harshness of her words. Because survival's not the end of our story, she said. It's the beginning. The children looked at her, their fear giving way to tentative curiosity. The galaxy is vast, Alira continued, and while humanity believes they have silenced us, they are wrong. Across the stars, there are whispers, small sparks of resistance that refuse to be extinguished. Some come from those who fight in the shadows, sabotaging humanity's operations in ways that cannot trace. Others come from those who preserve our knowledge, our histories, our cultures. They plant seeds, so when the time comes, we will rise again. She stood, her voice growing firmer. We're not the first to face extinction. It will not be the last. But history has shown the empires built on fear and domination cannot last forever. The Earthlings may have taken our worlds, but they cannot take our will to endure. The children's eyes brightened, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with faint hope. A young Thryn fluttered her wings nervously. But what can we do? We're just children. You're more than that, Illyria explained, her gaze steady. You're the future. Each of you carries the memories of your people, the resilience of your ancestors, and the spark of something humanity cannot destroy. Unity. She gestured to the hologram, which shifted to display a cluster of stars marked with faint glowing symbols. These are the last bastions, she said, hidden enclaves, sanctuaries like ours, where the survivors of countless races prepare for the day when we can reclaim what was lost. For now, we remain in the shadows, but one day, when the time is right, we will rise. Another tremor shook the bunker, stronger this time. The lights flickered, and a faint alarm chimed before silencing. The children tensed, their bioluminescence dimming in fear. Illyria raised a hand, her calm presence soothing them. It's only the surface drone, she said, though her tone betrayed a hint of tension. They cannot find us here. The tremor passed and the room settled into stillness once more, but the children's fear lingered, a silent reminder of how fragile their existence had become. Illyria turned to them, her expression resolute. We're not just survivors, she said. We're keepers of the legacy, the stewards of a galaxy that humanity believes they have conquered. Every story we tell, every lesson you learn, is a thread of the tapestry of resistance. When the time comes, it will be your generation that carries us forward. The children exchanged glances, their glowing patterns growing brighter. Despite their fear, a flicker of determination sparked within them. In the darkness of the bunker, they began to see themselves not as victims, but as guardians of something greater. Hold on to that spark, Illyria said, her voice firm, for it is hope that will light our way back to the stars. In the silence that followed, the hum of the bunker's systems seemed louder, a steady rhythm that echoed the quiet resilience of its inhabitants. Outside, the galaxy remained scarred and a desolate place, but deep within the last bastions and sanctuaries hidden from human eyes, the seeds of resistance continued to grow. The children sat huddled in their levitating pods, the faint glow of their bioluminescent patterns reflecting the flickering hope in their wide eyes. They leaned forward as Illyria's words washed over them, her voice resonant with conviction. For so long, the bunker had felt like a tomb, a cold, silent prison where survival was the only thought allowed. But now, in the dim glow of the classroom, her words kindled something new. What can we do? Asked a young Lilian, her silver tendrils quivering with both fear and anticipation. Illyria knelt before her students, her form graceful yet commanding, the faint shimmer of her opalescent skin catching the dim light. Her gaze, sharp and unyielding, met each child's eyes in turn. You are the future, she said, her voice steady but brimming with emotion. Do not mistake your youth or your fear for weakness. The Earthlings may have conquered the galaxy, but they have not conquered us. They have not extinguished the spirit of unity. The children shifted in their pods, exchanging glances. The words stirred something unfamiliar in them. For their entire lives, they had been told to hide, to survive, to avoid drawing attention. Now Illyria's tone carried a new message. Not just survival, but defiance. Illyria stood and gestured to the holographic map that materialized in the air above her. The galaxy unfolded in a swirl of stars and glowing lines. The once vast network of trade routes and alliances now reduced to fractured fragments. The children studied the display, their young faces solemn as they took in the scattered markers that represented the last bastions of their people. These, Illyria said, pointing at the faint pulsating symbols, are the hidden colonies. Some are larger than ours, housing hundreds of survivors. Others are smaller, mere pockets of life clinging to the edges of extinction. Yet in each of these places, there are people like us, people who remember the galaxy once was, people who believe it can be that way again. She traced a finger along one of the glowing lines connecting two distant points. The Earthlings think we are broken. They believe their conquest has divided us beyond repair, but they do not understand us. They see diversity as weakness, something to crush or control. They do not see what we see. The children leaned closer. The glowing patterns began to brighten as her words took root. What do we see? Asked a cobalt-skinned child softly. We see strength, Illyria replied, her voice rising. We see power in their differences. Each of your race is bringing something unique, a piece of the puzzle humanity cannot comprehend. The Lelands with their empathy, the Thryn with their ingenuity, the Jannari with their resilience, and the countless others across the stars. Together we are stronger than the Earthlings will ever be. They have conquered worlds, but they have not conquered our spirit. The map shifted, its glowing lines converging into a web of interconnected stars. Illyria's fingers danced over the controls, revealing hidden routes and clusters of resistance cells scattered across the galaxy. Some were faint, their signals weak, but others burned brightly, signals growing in strength. These are the alliances formed in secret, Alira explained. They are small now, whispers in the void, but they are growing. In the shadows of the galaxy, old rivalries are being set aside, and new bonds are being forged. One day, when the time is right, these whispers will become a roar. The children stared at the map, their expressions a mixture of wonder and determination. A young Thrin fluttered her glowing wings nervously. How do we help them, she asked. We're just children. Alira turned to her, her gaze piercing yet gentle. Do not underestimate yourself, she said. The greatest revolutions are not born of strength alone. They begin with ideas, with courage to believe that change is possible. Here in this bunker, you are learning the skills, the knowledge, and the history that will guide us when the time comes. She paused, her tone softening. But it's more than that. You carry the hopes of your people, the memories of those who came before you. Every story you learn, every lesson you take to heart is a thread in a tapestry of our resistance. When the day comes, you'll be ready, not as individuals, but as part of something greater. The holographic map dimmed, replaced by an image of a towering monument, its surface etched with alien symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. Alira gestured towards it, her voice taking on a reverent tone. This is the Monument of Stars, she said. It once stood on the Ulith homeworld, a beacon of unity and knowledge. Its inscriptions told the stories of every race that joined the Galactic Alliance, a celebration of our shared journey through the cosmos. The Earthlings destroyed it, just as they destroyed the Ulith themselves. The children's faces fell, their glowing patterns dimming with sorrow. Alira nodded, acknowledging their pain. Yes, it is gone, she said, but its legacy remains. The stories it held lived in all of us, in the memories we pass down. It's why we fight, not just to reclaim the galaxy, but to ensure that our stories, our cultures, are never truly erased. She looked at the children, her voice growing firmer. The Earthlings believe that by destroying our monuments, our cities, our worlds, they've erased us. But they're wrong. We carry the Monument of Stars within us. Each word you learn, every song you remember, every story you share, it's a piece of that legacy. And one day, we will rebuild it. The children sat in silence, their young minds absorbing the enormity of Alira's words. In the dim light of the bunker, something began to shift. Where there had been only fear, a spark of determination now flickered. They were small, yes, fragile, but they were not powerless. How will we know when it's time? Asked a Leland child with silver tendrils, her voice steady despite the tremble in her body. Alira smiled faintly, the first glimmer of warmth breaking through her otherwise serious demeanor. You'll know, she said, because you'll make it so. The time will not come to us. We must create it. Every generation has its role to play. For now, our role is to prepare, to learn, to endure, but one day your role will be to rise. She stood tall, her opalescent form shimmering in the faint light. We will rise, she repeated, her voice resolute. Not as fractured races, but as one people, united by the memory of what we've lost and the dream of what we can become. The children exchanged glances, their glowing patterns brightening. They did not speak, but the energy in the room had changed. In their hearts, a seed of defiance had taken root. It was small now, fragile, but it would grow. And when it did, it would be unstoppable. The bunker's faint hum filled the silence that followed, a reminder of their fragile existence. Yet the room felt less cold, less confined. Alira looked at her students, her gaze softening as she saw the change in their expression. They were no longer merely frightened children. There was something more, a spark of hope in a galaxy that had grown dark. Remember this moment, Alira said quietly. Remember what you feel now. It's the beginning of something greater than all of us. One day we'll show humanity that the galaxy is not theirs to own. It belongs to all of us. The children nodded, their young faces alight with determination. In the darkness of the bunker, a new light began to shine, a light that, one day, might illuminate the entire galaxy. That was part 3 of the Chronicles of the Forgotten Dawn by Ballers on the HFY subreddit. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.